right. Well, how's everybody doing tonight? This is Rob at Smirking Interviews. Nobody's here yet, so as usual. Hi. Uh, Welcome. It's always fun to come to a party where there's nobody there. Welcome to my best of slash worst of slash disappointing slash whatever of 2019. I'm not doing lists. Hey, look at that. It's even on. I can watch myself talk to nobody. Hey, if I put it on in the background, it's kind of like I'm talking to somebody. So yeah, this is my smirking gun, Rob, best slash worst slash whatever. Like I said, we're not ranking anything. We're not gonna, do a top 5 list or anything like that. I just wrote down everything that I watched. For the most part, I might have forgotten a couple of things. I got my best and worst and honorable mentions for comics and TV and movies. Bill Casey says Universal should put cats in the dark universe. Welcome, Bill. Welcome to the reviews. We're just going to play something like that in the background where, hey, I don't know, is that meta? I don't know. But these were some of the first comic book reviews back when I had a nice little. Well, let's just do this announcement too. This can be for people who watch later on. That I was supposed to go back to regularly scheduled programming starting Monday, but I'm going to take a whole other week off, where all I'm going to be doing is game streams. YouTube notification, right? It's when I can do it. My job gives me Fridays off, and what do I do with them? Nothing. I do this. So I'm not going to be doing any regular scheduled reviews again for this next coming week. I was thinking about how I'm going to have to start recording videos for next week's content, and just got a lot of outside influences and feelings about things that are just kind of making it so I just don't really want to record things. There's some personal stuff going on. It's not about health. It's just you got to keep to yourself a little bit, I guess. So I'm trying to smile, but I was determined to get to this. I even set up my new comic book reviews area. I don't know if you can see. If you go to my Twitter page, I posted a picture of my new comic reviews area, and it's a shame that I feel like this. Like, I don't know. But we're still going to do this. We're going to be streaming games. So, you guys will, some of you like Bill, that come by here all the time. We'll still be keeping in touch. We'll be talking over the next week as we play games, but I also won't be doing comic reviews, at all. So, first we started with, I was cutting out my regular reviews, and now I'm not doing comic reviews either. I'm just going to do game streams for the next week or so, because comic reviews were the thing that would make me happy. And so I felt if I just went back to that, and for a week, I would feel better, and I don't. In fact, I actually feel worse. But that's just me. I'm not gonna pound that home on anybody. So let's just get into. And since most people kind of don't really, but I am going to start with comic books. So I guess I should start with games, right? But the thing is like I never finish any games. Paul has joined us in the chat. Hello, Paul. How's it going, man? For as far as games go, I mean, if you're new to the channel, if I'm playing it, it means I like it. I don't buy bad games. So like if somebody's like says, "What are my least favorite games of the year?" I don't have any. I think all the games I've played this year have been great. Days Gone is a surprise. Resident Evil 2 has been I've only been playing it for 2 days, and it's amazing. It's a really big surprise. I really didn't think I'd like it, but thankfully, with the help of Desiree and Paul and other people, I've been enjoying that game a lot. Borderlands 3, I need to get back to. All that stuff I need to get back to. I used to, you know, it's funny. I used to actually finish games back when I was drinking, but I'm not gonna do that just so I can finish, you know, Borderlands or something like that. So all the games I've been playing, if you watch me on the channel, the games I'm looking forward to, I don't even know what games are coming out that I'm really looking forward to. Last of Us 2, the PlayStation 5. That about covers it. So to talk about comics first, we're going to talk about the stuff that I didn't really want to put on a list because they're either too new and, you know, they're on the bubble. Like only a few issues have been out. This is for really long running series. You know, the best and worst are going to be on the series that are over, that has start and finish either in 2019 or ended in 2019 or still going in 2020. It's too new to make a decision on. So these are the ones that are kind of on the bubble of, like, there's only one book that's on the bubble of being, I almost put this on the worst, but it's like, it's getting there to be the worst. And that's Marauders. Marauders just continues to be the problem, the big problem I have with the new X books. I almost included X-Men on here. And I know people will say there's a lot more than just Marauders, but X-Men #4 kind of turned me around. So Marauders, man, this book is almost out my pull list. Oh, damn. But 3 books that I wish I wanted to put on my best of, but did not, are Excalibur, because I love Gambit and Rogue, and I love magic books. I love Excalibur. It's getting better. Fallen Angels, if it was over, I probably would have made my list because this is a great Guanin story. It's a really interesting. Brian Hill is a fantastic writer, and X-Force would have been on the best of list, but there's only 4 issues out, and it's the only book that's really embracing the whole Dawn of X thing that they're doing. The other 3 books that didn't make the cut are because I just started reading them, but I'm really interested in what they were trying to say. And those are Middle West by Scotty Young. Hey, Desiree, what's up? Just got home. Middle West by Scotty Young. This is an awesome book, but I only just started reading it. It's from Image, and it's kind of it's hard to describe, but the art's fantastic, the writing's fantastic. It's kind of a Wizard of Oz kind of feel. Once and Future King, I finally got the first 3 issues. You can't find these first editions in your stores usually. This is a pretty great book. I only read the first issue, but this is like vampires and King Arthur. It is really great. It's by Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. Fantastic first issue. Can't wait to keep reading it. And then Undiscovered Country would have made the list for sure of best if there were more issues out, but there's only 2 so far. This is by Charles Soule and Scott Snyder. Fantastic book about what if the United States of America blocked itself off for 30 years, and then what would happen, what would America look like beyond those walls, and what would people think of it when they go back in there. It's like Mad Max meets Star Wars meets a whole lot of stuff. It's fantastic. Now to get to my honorable mentions, and hopefully people don't tune out while I'm talking comics. We won't talk comics for too long, but that's why we're starting with it, to get it rolling. And yeah, that's why I'm airing old me behind me. And I was going to put these in alphabetical order, but I forgot to put these in alphabetical order. But so honorable mentions for this year, can't have everything in the best, is Absolute Carnage. I actually kind of feel like that book, the event book of it was pretty good. The tie-ins weren't. Donny Cates's Guardians of the Galaxy almost made the cut, especially that ending. It was really fantastic. This is a rocket-heavy final story, taking on the Church of Universal Truth. And it starts off, that was the end of Donny Cates, and they did a great spread of everything he's done, from creating the Cosmic Ghost Rider and Thanos Wins to, oh gosh, everything he's been doing in the cosmic universe, and now he's on Thor, and that's looking pretty good. Another book that almost made the cut was Ghost Rider, but again, I probably should have put that in the almost made it to best ofs, but Ghost Rider by Brisson is also turning out to be a pretty darn good book. I really dig it. Johnny Blaze has gone crazy in hell. Dead Man Logan finished up this year. This was the end Logan story that's been going on for a long time now. Very long arc for this character. He finally, I mean, spoiler alert, but it's called Dead Man Logan for a reason. But he goes out in a blaze of fucking glory. It is such a great, this was such a great character. Of all the Wolverines that are running around, or people that are clones or daughters or sons or whatever, Old Man Logan was fantastic. Just fantastic. And Dead Man Logan, man, maybe they'll bring him back in the Resurrection pods. Who knows? Last God from DC, Black Label. This book by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Ricardo Federici, and Sonny Go with Dean White. This book is old-time fantasy stuff, man. I'm telling you, this is Dungeons and Dragons level stuff. It's crazy. I got this on Thinking Critical's recommendation, Wes over there, and I freaking dig this book. I didn't think I would. I like the art. It looks like a heavy metal music cover, but the story is great. It's very Game of Thronesy. Things aren't what they meant to be. The heroes lied about how they finished off this war a long time ago, and now it's coming back to haunt them. Think like Sleeping Beauty's kind of story, where they thought like, or maybe that's not the way to go. Somebody lied about something that they did, and now it's coming back to haunt them. Another book that almost made the cut was Deadly Class by Remender. Remender, I've been reading a lot of his stuff lately, picking up Uncanny X-Force, and oh God, what's the other book I picked up recently? I'll remember it in the middle of the night. But Deadly Class, just like the show, is fantastic. Fantastic book. Savage Avengers almost made my cut. Just off of issue number 6 alone, where Conan and the Punisher go, cut a deadly swath across the Savage Land. It was fantastic. And then the final, honorable mention is Punisher Soviet by Garth Ennis. If you like the show The Boys, Garth Ennis wrote the book The Boys, and he's now on this limited series for the Punisher Soviet, which is fantastic Punisher story. Back to form for Frank, no longer in the Iron, War Machine armor, and just getting back to old blood and guts. Pretty fantastic. Let's get to the chat real quick. Desiree says, love Rocket. I have a door-sized poster of him I got from work. I gave my sister a giant Rocket, the raccoon poster, and now I kind of want it back. Not because I'm mad or anything. I just want it. Paul says, Marauders wasn't a too bad comic like Kate Bishop and Kate. There's bits of Marauders I like, but it's the writing. I like characters. I just think that Marauders is just, if you haven't read issue number 5, it's pretty much tipping me over. This, like, they're not doing enough. The writing and the dialogue is really cringy. And we haven't gotten to Immortal Hulk yet, Paul. It is somewhere on the list. So now we're getting to our worst of books of the year in alphabetical order, so that way I remain non-biased. And let's just say this right off the bat. There's no Superman on this list. The reason that there's no Superman on this worst of list is because when I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago about Superman and Bendis's role in Superman. And so after I read all of Man of Steel, and then I started reading the first couple of issues of Superman and Action Comics and went, oh no, and stopped reading immediately. I got out immediately from Superman. So I was reading Superman still. Superman would be on this list, but it's not. But what is on this list is one of the worst X-Men stories I have ever read in my fucking life. It is Age of X-Men. I'm not just including this. I almost grabbed every book and decided to show it to you, but I'm like, no. This was almost what killed me for coming back to the X-Men. I was like, oh man, I just wanted to dive in and get all of it. I was reading X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, even God forbid, X-Men Red. But I knew in my heart of hearts that there was something deeply wrong with the X-Men universe. And then they get to Age of X-Men. And holy God, is this one of the worst X-Men books I've ever read. I thought maybe it would be good. And then I realized it's all about their utopias that they're not allowed to love. That's about it. And they took over. and they're like love Nazis. And this was a real milky cash cow for Marvel, and I think a lot of people got out really early, though. I'm seeing a lot of these in the 50-cent bin. All those people that got variants, like me, we're going to be sitting on a lot of this crap for a long time. And I don't even think you could, sell this on eBay at very good prices. But Age of X-Men, woof. And I know it's been said to death, but yeah, the Blob Psylocke thing, what the hell, man? What the hell? And if it wasn't for knowing that Hickman was coming on immediately after, I would have stopped reading X-Men. The other thing about this was like all this leading up to it, man. So many storylines were just, a lot of things were just getting blown up in the X-Men universe for like no reason, and it really like, what the hell was up with Humper Wolverine? We're never going to get an explanation of why how he came back, why he came back, like what was with the hot claws. It was so messed up for a long time there, and it happened to just be when I come back into comics. Desiree says he was always a fave of mine. I mean, cute raccoon with a giant gun, waiting to love. Also, I don't know why they messed up X-Men so much. I mean, I didn't care about them making Colossus gay in one of them, but then in the same series, Nightcrawler is a psychopath who kidnapped Dazzler. It's baffling. It's yeah, some utopia, right? The next book that's on here hurts. The next book that's on here hurts really bad. Because I know this is on some people's best of, but this one broke me because it's Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer. The first thing that bugged me was them not having Ryan Ottley after the first few issues, and mostly just kind of having different artists come in. But Amazing Spider-Man started out really, really strong when Nick took over, and I was digging it, and they got Mary Jane and Peter back together. But then this storyline, pretty much near the part of Hunted, I was kind of about with Hunted. I liked some of it and hated some of it. And then these storylines that started coming up after it, the new Sinister Six, that's all. Look, I don't care if they're girls, just write them good. And I hated the writing so much. I really, really did. And then they did 2099 story. I just tuned out, and now I'm just collecting because I'm a completionist and I'm an idiot. And I'm hoping that after 2099 we can get back on track. Because there's some storylines in here that Nick started in an Amazing Spider-Man that I really, really want to hear about. Next up is no surprise for some people, and some people, but whatever. But Fan of Everything 5 says, "Wow, reminds me of Into the Spider-Verse." Yeah. But these aren't Spider-Verse characters. These are just female versions that took over for the actual villains. Now we're going to be talking about Batman, one of the worst comics of the year, by Tom King. And I like to preface this by saying I didn't hate all Tom King's run, but would note that he just cut the balls off of Batman. And I've heard so many people say it better than I could about this, so much more eloquently. But all I know is that this is weak sauce across the board. And when they decided to not let Tom King finish his 100 issues and jam the story up, it got even worse. And then when they kill Alfred, and so just matter-of-factly, so coldly, so unemotionally, and then never really deal with it. And then they had that Batman annual that I've gotten so many people hating, putting negative comments about that one out there, that I'm just like, I don't know what book you're reading, man, but that is not the way to say thanks to Alfred. But Batman but Batman as a whole, Detective Comics is pretty good, and there is some good Batman out there. It's just not in his book. It's like if Wolverine's good in every other book but his own book. Do you know what I'm saying? Another book is because anybody that knows me knows I love Captain America. I'm just getting told that my connection is unstable. Here we go. So I don't know if anything cut off here or not. But Captain America made the list because Ta-Nehisi Coates. Well, Adam Kubert's a good artist. Ta-Nehisi Coates, man. I don't think like people say that Bendis hates Superman. I think this guy hates Captain America. Enough said to me. Enough said. This what they're doing to Captain America, man. He needs to be uplifted. He needs to rise up, and instead they're like, because of what happened after Secret Empire, and he's had these difficulties. I understand, but like it just doesn't feel like they're ever going to allow him to come up for air at all. I almost feel like they just need to straight up like kill the character, or I don't even know. I don't even know how to fix Captain America right now. Maybe just get better writers. Maybe get people like Chip Zdarsky on Captain America. Ooh, dare to dream. Next up is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man by Tom Taylor. It's funny because Taylor's on both lists, one for best of and one for worst of. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's all in the title here. This is really just about. It reminds me of what Zdarsky did in Spectacular Spider-Man 301 or 310. I can't remember what the number is. I'm a little dyslexic right now. But this was just a boring. It sucked. Sorry. I know that maybe I shouldn't just say, oh, it just sucks, right? I just couldn't do this book. I don't think to me, it was like Tom Taylor didn't get it. I don't think he gets Spider-Man. He was trying to show like I said, I think he was trying to do what Zdarsky did in Spectacular Spider-Man, except he failed. He doesn't understand Spider-Man to me. And it was just really hokey and cheesy. And all these characters that I just don't care about. But not to beat Tom up. Desiree says, why is it always make them chicks? It ain't always a bad thing. I mean, Doc Ock being a chick was fine, but it was unexpected and she was cool. I just don't like the writing. And I like Spider-Verse Doc Ock. You know, it's fine. It's not our universe. And, you know, somebody else made a different Doc Ock. It's you know, I'm not dissing the choices. It's what you do with that choice. And if you write them like, I don't know, like cliches, like stereotypes, it's just like, ugh. But again, not to beat up on Tom King, but again, he comes up here in the worst of with Heroes in Crisis. And I am so glad. I thought it was the only one that hated this book and didn't understand it in a way. And just, it's like AI help, like psychiatric help for superheroes that, and I like another book that I didn't even put on here, and I should probably grab it if it's close by here. Which of course it's not. Another book that I would have put on, not my worst of, but like more like, I think I need to read this thing 2 or 3 more times, is Doomsday Clock. Everybody loves Doomsday Clock. I don't love it. I was kind of like, I liked the last issue, but it was like so much different to me than like they were rushing to the end of this book because it was so delayed. And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, that's the point of this whole thing. And I felt like, what about all that other stuff leading up to this? And did we really need 12 issues? And why did we have to wait so long for this? It reminded me, some of the stuff that happened in that book reminded me of what I was thinking about when I was watching the Watchmen television show, where it was just kind of like, oh, that's it? That's what this is. And why couldn't Mr. Dr. Manhattan do something about this? Why? But anyway, the last worst of for me is War of the Realms. The whole thing, War of the Realms was like the event book that broke me, that made me go, okay, I am not just going to buy into events anymore. I'm not going to be buying every tie-in. I'm not going to be getting every variant. This book just was Thor to become king. And Malekith never felt like that big of a threat to me. They just kind of died. And it was like all to set up a bunch of crap that, honestly, I don't know anybody that talks about anything that's coming out of this book except for Thor. you know, and even then, like after the end of this, they went to King Thor, and that was like the stuff that's like at the end of the universe. And now we're finally back with real Thor with Donny Cates, and that's starting out great. But man, did we really need to do all this to get to that? And like I said, I don't know anybody that's talking about that book Valkyrie. And so after all of that, Booster Gold, he's still moping about. After all of that, we finally get to our best of the year. And again, I guess I didn't put these in any particular order, and I should have, because I was running around trying to get things done. Make sure I have everything here. Okay, well, let's just get the lob, the easy toss-up, knock out of the park, out of the way, right? Hox and Pox, House of X, Powers of 10. Like if I had a best of book of the year, it'd be these two as one whole. This reset the Marvel X-Men universe to a whole new thing that has been hard for it to live up to, but so far. But what Hickman did in these two books really just revitalized it. It brought everybody back. In fact, Marvel didn't realize how strong this was going to be. I'm losing my book out of my thing. It brought sales back to X-Men. It brought sales back to Marvel. And then they proceeded to start blowing it a little by little, all the good faith that they had. But in the meantime, we still have these books. The hardcover of Hox and Pox just came out recently, and you can check that out. But that series right there, man, is going to be like a watershed moment for me, where I'm going to be like, I remember, hey, look, I'm reviewing Rogue and Gambit. All right, so another book that is really, really fantastic and is a Batman book, another Batman Black Label, is Batman and the Curse of the White Knight. This is a fantastic book by Sean Murphy. It's an Elseworld story where the Joker was the good guy and Batman, wasn't. And it's such a fantastic, interesting story. And it's one of those books that I don't really want to tell you about. I don't really want to tell you about it because it's just so good. You need to check it out. And all the tie-ins have been good. Like there's the Mr. Freeze one that's really good, especially. Another great book this year is Venom. I know some people didn't like the tie-ins, but I thought some really cool things happened in there. Venom has been a solid book by Donny Cates, of course, just another Donny Cates book, right? But he's just been such a great writer. Making Eddie Brock such an interesting character, bringing Dylan in, his son, making him an interesting character, doing all sorts of new things. I mean, I should have put Silver Surfer Black on this list. I'm going to put it on this list right now. Silver Surfer Black was also one of the best books of the year by Donny Cates. All the things he's setting up with the symbiote god Null is all just been fantastic. And the choice that Eddie makes during Absolute Carnage is going to have repercussions. As long as Donny Cates is on this book, we're good. When he leaves, boy, is he going to leave a void. Next up is what Paul brought up earlier, Immortal Hulk. Now, I know people think that after issue 25, this book has gone downhill. I just have to disagree because there's an evolution of the story. I don't think we could just keep going as this crazy horror book. I think it still has elements of it, and I think we're not done with it. I think we're going to see more psychological stuff happening as well. I mean, it's a Hulk book. It's always going to be psychological in some way. Issue 25, though, really, it was a speed bump for a lot of people. And while I don't think it's a terrible book, issue 25, and I agree with people like Wes from Thinking Critical, that this should have been an annual, that issue number 25. But Immortal Hulk is still fantastic. Al Ewing may not be the nicest person in the world. And I know that some comic readers will not read books because they hate the writer, even if the writer is doing something good in a book. But I have not gotten there yet with Al Ewing. And even though he's taking over Guardians of the Galaxy from Donny Cates, we'll see how he handles that. Maybe I'll change my mind about him if he's bad at that. But I will not stop reading Immortal Hulk as long as I am enjoying it. And I am still enjoying Immortal Hulk. Maybe not quite as much as I was before, but it's still up on that level. Another book that surprised the hell out of me was Deceased, the DC version of Marvel Zombies, which to me, in my opinion, is better. and it's got so much heart to it. I think this is, for as surprised as Marvel was with House of X and Powers of 10, I think they were just surprised at the response that DC's got. These alternate horror covers that they put out were fantastic. It gives, I mean, this book, every issue was hitting the ground running and doing things that I didn't expect. From Batman being taken out early and gone, like he's just gone, and Superman fighting to the bitter end to save the world, and all the repercussions that come from it. There's so many fantastic moments in DCeased that it made me want to read more books about the characters in DC going forward. I'm just trying to find the right time to jump into a lot of different books. And they're doing a sequel. Oh, and this is also Tom Taylor. Okay, so Taylor did Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and I hated that, but I loved this. See, so it's like sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. You know, depends on. I don't know what it really depends on. Sometimes I think it depends on how they feel about the characters or the story they're doing. Maybe, you know, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, maybe he thought he was better at it than he is. I don't know, but DCeased is doing a sequel, and it's called Unkillables, and hopefully it's as good as this. Then another Batman Black Label book is Batman Last Night on Earth. This is the best Batman. Agree with me almost. Batman Last Night on Earth by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo is them finishing what they started with the New 52 run. This is basically their Batman, you know, the Earth 52 Batman story where, oh God, like it's another one of those books where if you haven't read it, I don't want to tell you, but like Batman wakes up in the future, but you find out that humanity turned on the heroes at the Justice League, you know, the headquarters, and Batman let people in, and he's like the first one to die. And you find out that this Batman is like a clone, and there's a Joker head and a lamp. And there's this whole mystery surrounding as he treks across this dystopian, apocalyptic future of what happened after the events of Batman opening the door. It's only 3 issues, but it is like the best Batman story I've read in a long time. It ends so fantastically and so unexpectedly, and it also has kind of a doomsday clock kind of thing to it that I just really rings so true. And it talks about Batman as who he is, and it's like these guys get it. These guys get it. Tom King does not. And just the art and the character designs and everything are just, oh man, look at this Bane and Scarecrow and everything on. Oh. And it's also like it's all narrated by the Joker. So anyway, another of my best of the years is Old Man Quill. I'm sorry I'm taking so long with comic books, guys, but we'll get to everything also. Is Bane giving Scarecrow a piggyback ride? He is. Old Man Quill. This is the 3rd Old Man book that's come out of the Badlands or the Outlands. I always forget which one it is. Wastelands. And I can't tell you how much fun this book is. It's Star-Lord, who is not one of my favorite characters, I'll be honest. But what they do with Star-Lord here in the Guardians of the Galaxy is he comes back to Earth to get the ultimate nullifier to stop Galactus and the Universal Church of Truth from killing everyone. Is one of the most fantastic stories I've read all year. And again, Sachs and Gill just kill it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of heart. It's tragic. It's just one of the best books I've read all year. All right, getting to it now. Daredevil. Yeah, just comics so far, Chatterbox. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Checchetto. When it's Checchetto, even when it's not Checchetto, the writing is still on point for Daredevil. Fantastic book. He really understands these characters. He's really good at balancing several arcs going into this story with Detective Cole, with Wilson Fisk and Daredevil, all having these great big identity crises. And Cole is a character we don't really know. You might never even really need to care about. But Zdarsky makes you care about these things. And it's still, Matt can't turn his back on Hell's Kitchen. And Kingpin trying to not be a criminal and just be the mayor of New York City. It's a fantastic, fantastic series of events that just every issue keeps getting more and more interesting. It has not dropped off in anything but art quality through this whole run. Next up, we have Die, Die, Die by Robert Kirkman. And geez, like Scott Gimple is on here, right? Die, Die, Die is like the unapologetic action comic that is just the tits, man. I don't know when it's coming back, but it needs to come back soon. It is so bananas. It is so bananas. I can't even describe it to you, but let's just say it has to do with some twins, but they're not twins. There's like more like a triplets or quadruplets of the same guy. It's so ultra violent and hyper stylized, and I can't wait for them to try to make this into a television show because this just screams like HBO or something like that. Man, should definitely get their hands on Die, Die, Die because it's so good. Only 2 left, guys. Next up is James Tynion IV's Something is Killing the Children. This great horror comic by the guy who's taking over for Batman is just one heck of an atmospheric ride where you just keep finding out more and more things that you think you know, you don't, things that you kind of questioned are, are more accurate, but like, the writing, it's so good. Each issue is kind of its own thing, but still moving the story forward. It's a puzzle. It's a mystery. It's a horror comic. It's like a high drama. It's just so fantastic. I can't recommend this. Boom Studios, man, between this and Once and Future are really killing it. And the best, of the year. Last one we get to, of course. Well, it's not, of course, but it's The Walking Dead. Pretty much going to call the final issue one of the best things of all year. Issue 193, The Farmhouse. This came out of nowhere for a lot of people, including myself. They had all those covers making people go, what the hell is going on in Walking Dead? And all of a sudden, it's just over. And I thought, there's no fucking way he's going to be able to pull this off. There's no fucking way. But he pulled it off. Robert Kirkman pulled it off. And while I don't think the Walking Dead universe is done in comics, and there's definitely things that aren't in here that you can either take to mean that maybe we'll find out later, or maybe in some ways it's still just enough. Carl in the future, with Michonne and she's still alive, and Negan's still out there. Negan lives, everybody. Negan lives. Spoiler alert. But he's not even in this book. He's just mentioned in like a frame of like really the book. But it's just incredible how he just said, and I was hoping, to be honest with you, I was hoping that he's going to get. I wanted him to get to 200. But there's something about doing this that's kind of smart. But if you read his thing in the inside of this, he was already questioning his decision to end it when he did. But I think go be like Seinfeld, man. Be like Seinfeld. Get out before you become too played out like the television show. So those are the best, worst, honorables of comics all year. Thank you for tolerating me talking about something that most people, kind of don't even come to my channel for. Desiree says, ate burrito and his was very hot. Eyes are watering. I want a smoothie. Well, that's interesting because I've been talking pretty much nonstop for 40 minutes, and I'm going to take a little sip of my orange soda. Okay, so next up, let's talk about movies. Now, I said I wasn't going to make a list, and I wasn't going to make like a top 10 or anything like that. We're just going to go over the movies that I saw and what did I think of them. And even after the fact, because I feel like I like a lot of my reviews, sometimes you wish you could go back and change your opinion. And so it's why I still encourage people to go back and watch my Last Jedi review. If you can hear it, because back then I didn't have any good audio equipment at all, even though I still just have this, I have my sexy little microphone. Back then you could barely hear my videos. But I still say watch my Last Jedi video, knowing what I feel like about Last Jedi now. I leave it up there as like a memorial to like, Rob, you're not always, you don't always feel the same way in a little while about a movie. And that's one of those that I just changed my mind about pretty quickly. Okay, so, and basically kind of starting at the beginning of the year. So the first one we're going to talk about briefly is Glass from M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. I was so excited to see Glass. I think a lot of people were excited to see Glass after we found that it's the shared universe. I do think there's two mistakes that happened here, like initially. One is I think we needed another Unbreakable. I think we needed Unbreakable 2 before we got to Glass. It feels like to me that Shyamalan just wanted it over with. He was tired of people coming up to him at parties, probably. Hey man, when you get to do sequel Unbreakable, man? And like he put that thing at the end of Glass or at the end of Split for a reason, right? He put it in there for a reason. So it's like he always intended to finish or go back to it, but then when he went back to it, it just seemed like he wanted it over as quickly as possible. Bill says, "Old man Quill, hold on, Galactus, let me put on some music." Gingerly walks to phonograph. "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey." It was actually really dope what he did in that book. It's so Star-Lord. The guy, Hicks that wrote that book, he fucking understands Star-Lord in a way that, and remember, this is not our 616 universe. It's the Wastelands first, and so it's still Peter Quill though. All the way through, it's fantastic. But Glass, it just felt like he wanted it over with, and there were so many steps that just felt like disrespectful to David Dunn's character in Split or in Glass. I mean, in the end, Samuel Jackson's Glass gets the last laugh, but at what cost? Everybody's dead, and what's her name? Sarah Paulson, being this like, okay, spoilers, guys. Okay, spoilers for these movies. All right, I better tell you, like, while we're talking about Glass, if you haven't seen it, it turns out that basically Sarah Paulson, the psychiatrist, she's like our version of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of these people that or not like evil S.H.I.E.L.D. though, that just take out superheroes. And it just was really I know what he was going for. He was trying to be like Watchmen in a way, where this real grounded hero thing, but it just took all the fun out of the movie. And the way that they did Bruce Willis's character, who was barely in the movie, it leaves you feeling really bad at the end of it. And while the performances are all good and the directing is solid, it's the story, it's how he ended it that just, it's one of those that just, it's a big letdown. And it's his characters, it's his choice, but boy, oh boy, man, like it made me go, I don't think I trust M. Night Shyamalan again. And that's a little harsh too, but again, like I'll rewatch. I haven't rewatched Glass because I don't think when I get to that ending, I don't think I can do it. I know he was trying to subvert expectations a little bit too, kind of pulling a Rian Johnson, but it just it's too raw for me. Like thinking about that ending, and everything leading up to that was all right, I guess. It just, and maybe that was what he wanted. But again, it just still feels like Shyamalan just wanted people to stop talking about these movies. The Lego Movie 2. The Lego Movie shouldn't have been a success. It had no right to be good. But it was so fantastic. So when you're getting a sequel, right? And you go, oh my gosh, at the very least, and it was so boring. How can the Lego Movie 2 be boring? With edits that are like, for a kid on, like ADD. It was boring as hell, and I just couldn't believe that it just felt like lazy. And it was an obvious, like, oh, the little girl is playing with the toys, and it's just like I couldn't believe how little I cared. I fell asleep a couple of times in the theater. How do you fall asleep in the theater watching Lego movies with all the action and things supposed to be popping around? I just like tuned the fuck out. Next up is Alita Battle Angel. Okay, I saw this. I learned about Alita Battle Angel from a girl that worked in a coffee shop that I frequented in the 90s. One night, I needed a place to crash, and I slept on her couch, and she had this tattoo of Alita Battle Angel on her shoulder. And I said, "What's that?" And she busted out the manga, and I read it, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is really great!" And over a night, I read all of Alita Battle Angel, and I was like so excited. I was like, "Wow, this is fantastic! If this ever gets made into a movie, it's going to be great." Cut to 20-some years later, and James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez and all them try it. And well, I think that Rosa Salazar is an all right actress. I don't blame any of the actors in here except for the guy who played the boyfriend sucked. Not just the character, but the actor was awful. He was awful. Okay. Most of the acting, in fact, was pretty bad, in my opinion. Everybody was just. I know they're acting like it's a manga book, right? They're in an anime, but it's like the actors. Most of those actors didn't know how to do these parts, and they were all really stiff to me, except for Rosa Salazar and Christoph Waltz. And to his own credit, I did not feel like the special effects were very good. I think that they felt outdated to me. The guy from Deadpool who played Francis was, a nothing character. He just kept getting his ass handed to him through the whole movie. It didn't give credit to the source material, in my opinion. I don't know if it's getting a sequel. I didn't hate it. But it's like when I had the opportunity again to watch it again, when I rented it for my dad and my nephew, I just was like, do I want to sit through that again? Nah. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. I saw this too. I can't believe I saw this actually. Again, I was just really bored. Kit Harington, I think, was in that, right? Along with all the other people. And it just felt like, oh, another How to Train Your Dragon. That's all it really was. It's like, oh, I could watch. It was beautiful. The movie was beautiful. But I just didn't care at that point. I thought they were all right. I was taking my nephew to these movies out of the house. And so that's the story of How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Like I said, the animation, though, in those movies are unbelievable. And that's the main reason why I went. Was I wanted to see something beautiful on screen, and if the story was good, great. But I didn't really care because I'm not that it's not, I love cartoons, but that one to me just didn't reach me. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. I talked about this with Gino this summer. Sam Elliott and to a lesser extent the guy from Office Space. Why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden? It's the title alone sold me, except I saw the title, right? And I'm like, The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. And I went, oh, that's what? It sounded like one of those really bad straight to DVD movies that like one of these cheap production companies make. And then I saw who the star was, and it's like Sam Elliott. And I'm like, oh, I'm in. I don't care if this sucks. If Sam Elliott's in this movie, I have to see it. And it did not disappoint. I think it's still on Hulu. I believe it's on Hulu. If you have not checked this movie out, it's actually really, really, really good. For what it is the best it could be for what it is. and actually really dramatic and poignant and heartfelt, and just this guy didn't want to do any of this stuff. He's just this guy. And I know that he wouldn't get nominated for this, but damn, man, this is one of those where I just wish the Academy would just go, you know what, we kind of got to give it to Sam Elliott, but they won't. They won't. But it's fantastic. I highly recommend you guys checking that movie out. Next up is Triple Frontier, the movie that I thought was going to save Netflix, or at least not save Netflix, but like put Netflix on the map for solid Hollywood production movies with Hollywood casts. And I mean, how do you go wrong with Ben Affleck and Charlie Hunnam and Pedro Pascal, and there's more than that, but now I'm blanking on it. And while I thought that there was a good section of this movie that was really good, Eric Bana, I think, is it Eric Bana that's in this? Was really good. It falls apart to me in the last act. It just completely falls apart to me, and I don't even recommend it. Oh, it's Oscar Isaac. And I love Oscar Isaac. And I just thought, how can this fail? And the trailer was so good. It was one of those times where I don't usually get fooled by trailers. The reason that I don't go see more movies is because I've seen enough movies to see what a trailer is doing. And I can just go, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen in this movie. And then when I don't go see it and I hear people's reviews, I'm almost 95% right. I would say about 95% right that I was going to hate that movie. Just because I just know myself that well. And I've seen so much. And I know maybe that's cocky. I don't know. But I've been surprised before. And so sometimes a trailer can fool me in a positive way. I usually don't get a trailer that fools me in a negative way. And Triple Frontier's trailer really fooled me in a huge way because they sold me on this movie. And then when I finished it, I was like, I don't ever want to watch that movie again. Next up, we have Dragged Across Concrete. Now, Dragged Across Concrete it's not for everyone. If you liked movies like Bone Tomahawk and Assault on Cell Block 6 or something like that, I think it's called. They're with Vince Vaughn. Dragged Across Concrete is from that same director, and he is a brutal storyteller. He does not flinch from violence and the realistic things that happen when you're in a violent situation, and what violence really looks like. Even though he's also very famous for using practical effects in with people's heads, and when they go boom, it's pretty jarring, and it almost takes you out of it for a second when things like that happen. But Dragged Across Concrete is this fantastic movie with Mel Gibson, who again right now is still, I can watch Mel Gibson movies. Okay, some people can't. And he's fantastic in this. He's to me, it's like he's back to form. And Vince Vaughn is fantastic in this, as these two cops who get put on suspension after they make a mistake on a bust, and how they try to earn money while they're on suspension, and it just doesn't go well. This is like the Safdie brothers, right? That do Uncut Gems and Good Time, where you just know things can work out well for your heroes and your, all that. So, but I can't recommend it highly enough if you can handle that kind of movie. Dragged Across Concrete, when you realize what that means, it'll be too late. That's how I thought about it when I saw that movie. I was like, what's Dragged Across Concrete going to mean? Oh, no, that's what it means. Oh, no. But in the best/worst/best again way. So I highly recommend it if you can handle it. Another movie that came out is Captain Marvel. I saw Captain Marvel. I reviewed Captain Marvel. I said it was fine. I said it was harmless. I don't really care what Brie Larson says. And Carol Danvers has never in the comics been the best character, and If you know comics at all, you know that they have been trying to boot and reboot and they're trying to figure out how to get people to buy a Captain Marvel book, and they can't do it. It's not because people don't like girls. It's because nobody's writing her right. She's never been that interesting of a character, period. It's why, like, when Rogue took her powers back in the day, nobody cared. Nobody cared except for Carol. And they even tried to throw that in our faces in the comics where Rogue and her met again, and it was just like it fell flat. And if you're gonna let Brie Larson's politics affect your opinion on the movie, fine. It's sometimes these people with big mouths can really hurt their movies more than the movies really should be hurt in the first place. And honestly, I just think that Captain Marvel was just this like 2-hour commercial for her cameo in Avengers Endgame. It didn't offend me. It just whenever I go think about rewatching it, I go, why? What's the point? It really, but not in that way where I'm like, fuck Captain Marvel, fuck Brie Larson and all that shit. Like, no, I don't care about all that. I really don't. I mean, I'm never going to meet Brie Larson in real life. Brie Larson doesn't care what I think. And I don't care what Brie Larson thinks. And I don't know why everybody else does. I really don't. Don't go see her movies. That's how you make them pay. Bitching about it does nothing. Stop seeing the movies. Stop giving them your money, and then they'll stop making the movies. And they'll stop putting those people in those movies. Think about like when Demi Moore got $20 million way back in the day. And then she started making shitty movies. And guess what? People stopped going. And guess what? Demi Moore stopped getting work. The same thing applies here. If you don't like Brie Larson or Star Wars or whatever, if you want it to stop, you just stop paying. You stop paying. Bitching and complaining gets us Rise of Skywalker. That's what happens. Sorry. Go off on a little bit of a tangent there. But, I actually liked her as Captain Marvel because she was the character. She was exactly the character that's in the books. And if you don't like that, well, then you don't like Captain Marvel. Because that's how she is. Brie Larson nailed it. They say she's all wooden and shit. And it's like, yeah, because so is the character. The character does not pop off the does. She never does. So she knows Wolverine and Captain America. So what? They don't show that in the movies or anything like that because it's not part of the story arc. Maybe if they had introduced her earlier and gave her more personality, but even then, and here we are. I'm feeding into it because I'm talking more about it than I need to. It was fine. It was fine. And if you like Captain Marvel, good for you. If you hate it, good for you. The one thing you don't need to do is complain about it any longer because I love how these people like to get up on their fucking soapboxes and act like they think that they've made some change when there might be some question. Will there be a Captain Marvel 2? Did we affect some change? No, you didn't. You didn't do shit. Jesus Christ. These people that think that they affect so much change because they're saving pop culture. You're not saving dick. You're wasting your time. Get if you want to protest something, go get a sign and go protest something that's really important. Not Captain Marvel and our pulp culture is going down the tubes. Whoa. Go out there and protest something that's really important, like global warming or something. Something that could actually affect us. Not some stupid ass Marvel movie. God damn it. The next movie up is Us, which, everybody just keeps telling me I need to give a free pass to because it's so batshit crazy. And I want to. I want to give Us a pass. I really do. Because the acting is fine. And who doesn't want to see the guy from Tim and Eric get murdered? I think he likes getting murdered in things. It's just the logic of it all. There's too many unanswered questions, and people can tell me till the cows come home that was the point. I have to have something. You have to give me something, just a little something, and then I'll be fine. But again, I tried rewatching it. I watched about 3/4 of it on HBO, and I still went, Why aren't there just dead rabbit corpses all over these tunnels? That was just one of the questions I had, and just none of it makes sense. And I feel like, why did they even have to be doppelgangers? Why couldn't they just be fucking aliens or some shit? I don't know. It's like they had this great idea about these tunnels, right? They start with the whole thing about all these tunnels and what's in them, and it's like, well, then, why? How did they get from that to doppelgangers? That's the movie I want to see. I want to see the drug-fueled trip that somebody took to go from that to that, and then go, hey, and then why don't we throw in Hands Across America to make it really fucked up for the audience, where we'll have things make so little sense that they won't know whether they're supposed to like it or hate it. And so there's going to be people that are too afraid to say, I hate that, because they like Jordan Peele and they thought the performances were good. And there's going to be people that's too afraid to say that they liked it because things just don't make sense. And I almost feel like sometimes movies like this come out just so that the people that made it can laugh and go, look what we made them do. Next up is Shazam. Shazam. It was a harmless kids movie. The actual story of me going to see Shazam more interesting than the movie Shazam. That I don't know if I talked about it on my review of Shazam, but let's just say I had free tickets to go see Shazam, an early screening at this place way far away from my house. I will never do that again. Because it was like when I first started, I hadn't left my area in a while in a car. Okay, I had a DUI a long time ago, and I finally got my driving privileges back, and I hadn't driven anywhere in a long time, and I didn't know where I was going, and I got really lost on the way back. That was more interesting. Not knowing how I was going to find my way home with my nephew in the seat next to me was way more interesting than Shazam was as a movie. It's a great kids movie. I think it is one of the best kids movies in a while. And the fact that now kids have their own superhero kind of thing is pretty cool. Zach Levi is tall. I met him in person at Wizard World last year. I don't recommend meeting people at Wizard World sometimes, because in the big tents, in the big lines, or any convention, because wow, that's just like a meat market. But that's not about Shazam. Shazam's going to have sequels, and they'll be fine probably too. But I'm not going to go see it because I realize now that it was just a kid's movie. But that's fine. Not everything has to be for me. Hellboy. I finally saw Hellboy. And I know why people don't like Hellboy. And I can finally have an opinion about Hellboy. I like David Harbour. I like Ian McShane. I like Mila Jovovich. I just don't like them in this. This movie was trying to be like 12 movies. The CGI was not very good. The girl with the dreadlocks was terrible. Daniel Day Kim is a great television actor. No said on that part, right? I don't want to offend anybody, but I love Jin from Lost, okay? He was fine on Hawaii Five-0. Not so much a great Hollywood, action star, co-star. The CGI, man, was so bad. And I'm looking at some of it, and some of it was trying to work. Some of it was, if they had cut down so many things that were happening in that movie and made it more tight and concise. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, because a lot of times, like with movies like Men in Black, I always say, why don't they expand the universe? Why don't they show more of the world? And then they do in a movie like this, and I go, oh, that's too much. You guys you overcorrected. And it's also the first time like a creator gets involved that screws things up even worse. We could have had Benicio del Toro and Ron Perlman and everybody back for a third final Hellboy movie, and instead we go a different way with the creator, and it gets all fucked up. That's Hellboy. Before, other than it's the comic book movie that I always wanted, and now can I move on with my life? Because I love it. It's just, if some other movies hadn't come out this year, I this would have been like my favorite movie of the year. But up until this point, up until like after I saw Avengers Endgame was my favorite thing of the year. As a nerd, it is my favorite thing of the year, nerd-wise. It's not my favorite movie. It's not the best movie of the year. It's that thing in my heart is that thing that made me stand up and cheer as a nerd waiting for this moment to happen. I know that it has problems. It's not perfect. But Marvel earned that movie and Infinity War. Honestly, I wish I could just see Infinity War and Endgame as one giant movie. I would sit in that theater. And watch that. But that's all I really need to say about Endgame. It was fantastic. Some people don't like it. Whatever. Under the Silver Lake was another movie that I saw. I love this movie. It's from the guy who made It Follows. It Follows was one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. This is with Andrew Garfield and this crazy, weird journey he takes to find this girl that he shares kind of a nice, interesting evening with. And she disappears, and he goes on this crazy hunt to her that takes him in places that nobody expected, the audience most of all, including him. He feels like he's as surprised as anybody else. And I found this movie so watchable. It is one of my favorite movies of the year. If I had to make a list, this would be on it. It made me remember some REM songs I hadn't heard in a long time. I dig this kind of movie. And maybe it makes me a snob about it, but like as soon as Red Letter Media was talking about it in a positive way, I went, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy to like this movie. And if you have not seen Under the Silver Lake, it's not for everyone, but I just love these weird movies that just take you down the rabbit hole and you don't know where you're going to end up. And sometimes you come out of it at the other end and you don't know if you liked it or maybe you hated it. In this case, for me, I loved it. Next up is Detective Pikachu. Another movie I finally just saw. Wow. Look, I never liked Pokemon. Never. It just never spoke to me, even as a guy who still likes cartoons. I hate Team Rocket. Fuck Team Rocket up its fucking ass. If you love it, look, a lot of you guys are younger than me. Probably all of you. But I like Ryan Reynolds, and I like the way Pokemon look. I like the idea of Pokemon. I hate the execution of every Pokemon thing I've ever seen. But again, it's not for me. I'm past this thing. But I know people my age that love Pokemon, okay? And I sat here and watched it, and I was like, man, I love the look of Pokemon in the real world. It's like Pokemon Go. It was fantastic. I thought this place that they created came to life. It was everything else inside this story that I could not stand. The writing was god awful. The characters were terrible. The acting was awful. And the thing is then I think about Pokemon itself. And when I think about episodes of Pokemon that I watch, because I have watched Pokemon. I have. Back in the late 90s, sitting there drinking Miller High Life, not knowing what to do on a Saturday morning. Yeah, that's how bad it was. I'd sit there and watch everything that was on Saturday morning cartoons, and I'd get to Pokemon, and I'd sit there and watch it, and I'd go, what the fuck is this? Why are they talking like this? This is baby talk. And this isn't baby talk. This is where they started. This is where they wanted to get mainstream audiences was Detective Pikachu. They should have just done a straight up live action Pokemon movie with Ash Ketchum. And I know the name. Ash Ketchum and Pikachu and was it Brock? And God, I can't remember the girl's name. But and even Team Rocket, man, maybe they could have done something fun and weird with them, except they probably they'd probably do some stunt casting and have like Rebel Wilson or something as one of the Team Rocket, the Team Rocket girl. Maybe like, whoa, look, the Team Rocket girl's big girl this time, and she's going to be annoying in that too. But I think that there's a good Pokemon out there that can be universally liked by everyone. They just didn't do it here. And while it made a lot of money, because of course it did, it's not one of those movies that's going to win over critics. but I don't think it has to. It's a money machine. And I still, to be honest with you, the most interesting thing about Detective Pikachu is that it exists at all. I believe we're still dealing with Pokemon. I thought that this was going to be a thing that died, but I also thought Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was going to die too, and it didn't. And that's fine. I don't hate Pokemon. I just don't care. And again, here's the thing though, is I love the designs of the Pokemon. I think that there's some of the most imaginative designs of characters. But like I don't like that platypus dude. Was it Psyduck? I think that thing is hilarious looking. There's certain ones that I just think that they look cool. But as far as a product goes, I go no thank you. But I don't bear it any ill will. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. The movie that almost, like, it's almost too much. I love it, but by the end of it, I was just like I kind of had hoped that they would wrap up John Wick in this movie, because it's like too much of a good thing, or that eventually they're going to start, the returns that you're going to get are very rarely, the highs that you get with movies that keep going rarely are able to sustain themselves. And so I'm worried about John Wick 4. I shouldn't be, because all the action in these movies are fantastic. It's the story that I'm worried about with John Wick more than anything, is finding a reason for each action piece and everywhere they go. I think John Wick, there's like a mobile game or some crappy PC game out there that I know Gino was playing. And I haven't played it, so I shouldn't say crappy, but it looks crappy, like as far as style and graphics go. There's a great video game somewhere in there. I can't believe that we have 3 movies and no video game. Come on. Who doesn't want to be Keanu Reeves as John Wick, headshotting people in like this crazy, maybe Max Payne style slow down, killing people situation. I don't know. But John Wick 3 made me just, like, the first time, like the books in the library, that very first action scene, I was like, oh, god damn. Books, man, are dangerous. And the Keanu renaissance that's been going on for years, I don't even know, can we call it a renaissance? If it never stops. I used to hate Keanu Reeves before. I think it stopped when I saw Johnny Mnemonic. I think it was Johnny Mnemonic is when I started liking Keanu Reeves. I liked Bill and Ted fine, but I didn't really care about, it was like the universe of Bill and Ted that I loved. But then like The Matrix came out and I liked that fine. And I don't know, Keanu is just, he's a weird enigma of an actor. So next up we have Brightburn. Oof. I probably talked about Brightburn plenty of times. I don't know how much more I can say about Brightburn. I'm going to, let's see, get to the comment section so I know you guys, I know that I'm paying attention to you. Desiree says, I never trust Shyamalama Moo. He can't be trusted. He's a weasel. And then she says, I saw just the first. Is it bad? I have beef with it because I hate Astrid. She's a bitch. She don't give a dang about Hiccup till he gets impressive and saves the town. She would have never given him the time of day before that, which is bullshit. He goes with her. He could do better. He deserves someone who truly likes him for him. Yeah, okay. You definitely have feelings about Dragon. What was that movie? See, How to Train Your Dragon. The guy from Office Space. And Ron Livingston. Thank you, Bill. Damn it. Has dragged one of my favorites of the year for sure. My third favorite Zoller movie, but still great. Yeah, Zoller, man. Zoller is fantastic. Dang it. I got to try to get this off my screen. Okay. Desiree says she was just with, we're talking about Captain Marvel here. She was just good to play with in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. She was good at clearing out a room. She's dull. Paul says, I think it was Brie Larson's people hated not much Captain Marvel. Think the movie was rushed to bring her into Endgame. Desiree says, I really like Us, but I literally made a massive rant on Gino's review of it. Made so many complaints, but I'd see it again in a heartbeat if it was on TV. Paul says, do you think Disney knows what to do with Marvel's heroes after Endgame? I think that they're slowly trying to figure it out, but I don't think that they have the plan just yet because they added so many variables with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Desiree says, he just wanted to go too far into the badass since Guillermo made it with too much heart. Agreed. My coworker really likes Under the Silver Lake. It looks like a movie I would appreciate but wouldn't really like. Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of how I feel about movies like A Star is Born. Desiree says, I'm a Poke addict. I freaking adore it. Detective Pikachu was cute, but I feel like they could have pushed it a little farther because Pokemon can actually get dark as hell. There literally is a mini story of a little girl who was put in a permanent nightmare till she died. That's badass. Paul says, thought Brock and Pokemon was blind because I was closed. DJ Crystal Clear. Hey, DJ, if you're still here. Worst movie of 2019, Avengers Endgame. Okay. All right. That's your opinion. And Desiree says, Keanu forever. Years of Keanu will continue. 2020. Keanu is invading video games. Cyberpunk 2077 looks awesome. Yes, it does. Okay, so we're back to, Brightburn. I don't like Brightburn. I like what Brightburn was trying to do, but I hated it. I hated that kid. I wanted him to die. I wanted to be the one that did it. Okay? I wanted to be able to jump into that movie and just smash that kid over the head, even though he'd just kill me, right? But like, I really wanted. I haven't wanted to see a kid die in a movie since Macaulay Culkin in The Good Son. Okay, I really wanted that kid to just bite it because it was like he just goes bad because his DNA says he's bad, and he realizes that he's got power and he's like fuck everybody. And the thing is that I feel like that would be how a little kid would actually be. That a little kid, movie of the year, Stuber. I like Kumail Nanjiani, but not that much. I just wanted that kid to die. And like I said, I think it's because if a real little kid had those superpowers, we'd all be fucked, man. We'd be so fucked. Dark Phoenix. It sucked. And I almost feel like Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, I can't believe New Mutants is getting released. I can't believe somebody is allowing New Mutants to get released. I feel like Dark Phoenix and New Mutants is Fox's fuck you to being bought by Disney, and they're trying to set X-Men on fire. They're trying to sour X-Men for regular-ass audiences so that when they do finally get back to making X-Men, people aren't going to be as interested. I will go to the mattresses over that one. I do think that sometimes when deals go down in companies, they try to trash the product that somebody just bought. They try to taint the product so that it will damage them later on. I believe that happens in real life with other things, not just movies or other things like that. I do think that sometimes people like to pull the pin on the hand grenade, throw it in the room, lock the door on their way out, and watch it, and then it explodes them from the inside. Dark Phoenix, just not at the movies. Like, put it on a streaming service, man, or something. I'll watch it then, but I don't want to see it. I don't. Even though initially I thought it was going to be good, and then when I heard like all the terrible reshoots that movie went through too, same as Dark Phoenix, same as Rise of Skywalker, writing on the fucking wall, everybody. If a movie has to be that pushed back, it's because it's not good. They don't push back good movies. They don't reshoot as they were trying to. And again, I don't agree with this necessarily with Endgame either, is they were trying to make the most positive audience reaction for that movie. And while it would have bugged me to see like some of the things that they talked about doing initially, I'd have gotten over it. Toy Story 4 was a surprise for me. I honestly didn't think that they had another one in them. The only thing that I didn't like about Toy Story 4 was we didn't get enough of the other toys. I wanted to see a real toy. This was a Woody's swan song, and everybody else was pushed to the side, and I felt like they could have explored the little girl and her relationship with all of her toys a little bit more. Maybe even their neuroses of seeing themselves being taken and pushed aside for a fucking spork. Other than, and the villains weren't that interesting either. But other than that, Homecoming was better. The last couple of, seeing J. Jonah, and I think it's a huge mistake for them to reveal Peter Parker's identity at the end of Far From Home. I thought that is a huge misstep. It's too early for a move like that. Figuring that, like, if everybody knows that he's Spider-Man, either one or two things is going to happen by the end of that movie, right? Of the third movie is they're going to make everybody forget, or he's going to make everybody realize that he's not, or fake it. They're going to try to fake it so that it doesn't look like he is Spider-Man. What are they going to do? Another time thing, or some multiverse thing, or some sort of whatever. I find that to be the only thing. I wanted it to just be J. Jonah Jameson saying, "I'm here to get rid of Spider-Man, and he's evil," and like show him be like make. It would have been in character for J. Jonah Jameson to show something that shows Spider-Man doing something bad, not revealing his fucking identity. That is such a stupid move. It's too early for that. And anybody that tells me, well, I haven't seen the next movie, so how can I know? It's just comic book 101 and story structure. You don't do this quick to a character. This is something that would happen maybe at the end of the third movie, not at the end of your second movie. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Desiree says, to be fair, if I had powers, I would be robbing so many places, not hurting people, but I would taking all the stuff. Do I hate you for hating comics, period? No. Did I like Kick-Ass? Yes, I did. I don't hate you for hating comics, period. Hey, you probably tuned in earlier and saw me talking comics. You don't have to like comics, It's not everybody's thing. I have a wide variety of things I like, that's all. Desiree says, wasn't into Gabby. Hated how they were set her up as an emotionally manipulative Bob boss. I kept not trusting her was legitimately baffled when I realized I was actually supposed to feel bad for her. Yeah. It wasn't like how I felt about the miner in Toy Story 2 or even Lotso from Toy Story 3. While they were both bad character, like bad guys, I actually felt something for them in a way that I didn't really care what was going on with the doll. I just didn't. The Nightingale is one of my favorite movies of the year. It would be on the list. The follow-up to the Babadook, I forget the director's name right now. I've said it a bunch of times earlier. This story about the Australian outback and colonialism and the slaughter of Aborigines that happened there, how it rivals the slaughter of Indians in America, and this backdrop of this girl on a revenge story about, getting revenge on the men who killed, it's got it's got a very hard beginning to watch, but she's getting revenge for the deaths of some very important people to her. It also talks about the prison structure there that they had and why, like Australia was this giant prison. It was interesting to watch historically, learning new things that I didn't quite understand or grasp before about how Australia worked back then. And just, it's very hard to watch, but the performances are all incredible. And it's one of the best revenge like Left 4 Dead coming back stories, plus like this journey of discovery and tragedy as they travel across the outback to get to their goal, and seeing all this like just kind of devastation as colonialism takes over Australia. It was just one of the best and most heartbreaking and most powerful and emotionally I felt so many things at the end of that movie that you wouldn't know that this was from the same person who did the Babadook. And that's another testament. It's like the guy from, that did Under the Silver Lake, and before that he did It Follows. It's like, wow, talk about freaking range from a director. Just a fantastic movie. It's also on Hulu, I believe. If you haven't checked out The Nightingale, it is haunting. Next up is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It would be my favorite movie of the year if I had a favorite movie of the year. Best movie and favorite movie of the year. It's hard for me. I'm by his worst movie, Death Proof, is still better than most things that come out in a year. and entertaining and watchable. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is for people that love old Hollywood. It's for people that love movies. It's for people who love fairy tales. It's for people who love Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt and all the controversies still surrounding that damn Bruce Lee scene. And I keep, even Chris Stuckman, man, I think he screwed it up by saying that this flashback, and I keep trying to tell everybody that wasn't a flashback. Everybody in that movie, because here's the thing, okay? It's like a modern day fairy tale, right? A Hollywood fairy tale. So a lot of these things are fantasy. And all these characters, each character has their own fantasy that they flash back to. Even Steve McQueen talks, has that flash of what it would be like if he was, got to be married to Sharon Tate. And how Leo's character fantasizes if he could have gotten the role in The Great Escape. And then Brad Pitt's fantasy is what would have happened if I had gone to that, if I had gotten the meeting with Kurt Russell's character and went to the studio lot, and except his fantasy went to the nth degree where he ends up fighting Bruce Lee, getting kicked off the lot. And at the top of it, he's just thinking about, he's not thinking about what happened. He's thinking about what would have happened. He really went really far with it. And that's why at the end of that scene, he goes, fair enough, because it didn't happen. So everybody going, well, that's not Bruce Lee. It's like, you're right. It's not Bruce Lee. It's Brad Pitt's thinking of how it would be if he got into that situation. So it doesn't even matter. And so if anybody that can get turned around just by hearing me tell you this for like the millionth time, I don't know how everybody is missing this point. that scene was just a fantasy scene and not a flashback of actual events. It does not represent what Bruce Lee is really like. It represents how Brad Pitt's character saw Bruce Lee in his own fantasy. And that's why I love it. It's just one of the many reasons why I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's just got some of the finest acting in it. It's got one of the best soundtracks as usual. It has one of the best endings of any movie this year, if not the best ending of any movie this year. But again, like I said, Tarantino just hits me in that right spot, and it's going to be hard, even though The Irishman, we might as well talk about that next, right? So let's talk about The Irishman. This is the second best movie of the year. It's really close. It's really fucking close. It's hard after watching The Irishman to not go, well, sorry, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And for a second there, I went, I was a little like it tipped a little bit, because I also love the subject matter of The Irishman. It's not just that Netflix got a Scorsese movie, that we got Joe Pesci out of retirement, that we got one of the best performances from Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. And, when Al Pacino wasn't going into full Al Pacino mode, he was giving one of the best performances as Jimmy Hoffa, with other great performances from like Ray Romano. Oh my gosh. Jesse Plemons is in here, but he doesn't really get much to do. Anna Paquin. Anna Paquin's character kind of is what keeps the movie from being truly great. Like that could tip maybe the scales on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Maybe not. Maybe I'm making an excuse for it. And I'm not picking on Anna Paquin. I'm picking on it that that part could have been played by anyone. And it really did nothing. It was just to represent, they wanted to have a grown-up person be a representation of disapproval of his daughter, of what she knows, what he does for a living. Other than that, it was like all talking just about, that when there was violence, it was just perfect Scorsese violence. It hits you all those places that you want to hear it. It's got the music. It's got the feels. It's got fucking Harvey Keitel. And Joe Pesci is scary as hell and doesn't even kill anybody in this movie. And again, this is what, and it's made me more of a snob again. It also, these movies coming out are all of a sudden making a whole lot of critics forget how shitty the beginning of this year was. They were making 2019 sound like the best year of movies ever, when you forgot about the first 6 or 7 months of the year. It's Oscar season, so all of a sudden we get this heavy push of fantastic movies. It's like, yeah, this last bit of the year has been really, really good. and maybe some of this is even better because we were in a drought for such good products that maybe some of these actually think they are. It's just that we were starving for anything that was relatively great. That's probably not quite true, but you know what I'm saying. But The Irishman almost takes the top spot as far as best of the year. And the fact that it's on Netflix, I really wished I could have seen it at the theaters. Getting to the home stretch here, Good Boys was a lot of fun. I think I probably wouldn't have had as good a time if I hadn't done that with Gino. That's all I really have to say about that one. It's, kids swearing and not really understanding. I remember being that age and saying and doing things that I thought I understood and thought it was cool to say and do. But it was still because I didn't like that end either. Poor Peter already was going through so much and then just further kicked him when he was finally finding happiness and peace. Yeah. But that's Peter's story. There's always something. And that's why I just thought that Peter Parker should have had J. Jonah Jameson make him look like a villain, just not reveal his goddamn identity. Because that's just like skipping the line. You introduced J. Jonah to the Marvel Universe by him revealing his... completely agree with you about that Bruce Lee scene. That's how I saw it. Thank you, Chatterbox. I'm glad I'm not the only person who saw it that way. Paul Green, Death Proof, just too much talking, hate the ending. Well, why, do you want Kurt Russell to win? Honestly, it kind of did. I kind of wanted Kurt Russell to win. But, like I said, it's not the best. It's his worst movie. And I don't mind talking. But that's the first half, man. I almost feel like it should have just been a short film where he killed all those girls and that's it, the end of the movie. Desiree says, I don't like Tarantino, so I'm incredibly biased. I like Pulp Fiction, but I hate most of his others. Couldn't stand Kill Bill, so I'm always reluctant to see his movies. Yeah, he's one of those guys, man. He's one of those guys. My mom, she used to say to me, if you like Quentin Tarantino movies, you're sick. You're a sick person. So now I know I'm right about it, but everything's by, perspective, and taste is all, different. So I respect that. Bill Casey says, filming of the first cut of Dark Phoenix ended on October 2017. November 2017 was when the rumors of Disney negotiating with Fox started. My theory is Fox saw Dark Phoenix and decided to sell. It could be. But I still stand by, I think they threw a hand grenade into the room. And they walked out the door. Chatterbox says, have you got a chance to see Rocket Man this year as well, or is that coming yet? I have not seen Rocket Man. I did not see Rocket Man, and I did not see Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't think I've seen a movie about a rock star's backstory since The Doors. I think Dennis Leary said it best in No Cure for Cancer, where he's like, do we really need a 3-hour movie about the Jim Morrison from The Doors? It's like, I'm drunk, I'm nobody, I'm drunk, I'm famous, I'm drunk, I'm fucking dead. And while I know that isn't the story of every rocker, it's just kind of like every kind of biopic, especially music ones, kind of hit the same kind of beats that I don't really need. And while I like the music of Queen, I don't really care about what happened. I know, yeah, oh my God, he was an asshole, get right out of town. And then same with Elton John, where I love his music, but I don't really care what happened to him. I mean, I knew from a long time ago before he came out that he was gay. I was like, oh, that guy's gay. I didn't mean that in a bad way. I was just like, oh, well, he doesn't like girls. I don't care, but, it's a story about the difficulty, right, about living like a double life. But I just, it's just not like my kind of movie. I don't like musicals. I don't like musicals. I don't like movies about music. I love music, which is weird that I don't like musicals or movies about musicians, except for Almost Famous. I like Almost Famous. And sing. What else we got here? Paul says people felt Tarantino was a big kung fu movie fan. Why would he do that to Bruce Lee? Yeah, that's because they don't understand the scene. Did you like The Lighthouse? I keep trying to get to it, but they're charging $15 on Amazon to watch it. As soon as it comes out, I am watching that movie. It is like I'm chomping at the bit, literally trying to see this movie. It's the same way how I felt about The Nightingale, where I was just like, come on, come to rent, put it in the red box so I can rent this damn movie. And I can finally talk about it because I am so hyped to see this movie, but not in the overly hyped way. I love The Witch, and I love the style of The Witch, and I can't wait to see what this guy does. And I don't like Robert Pattinson that much, and I am still on like pins and needles to see that movie. Ready or Not was a blast. It was very surprising. It was very funny. It was very gory. It was very funny. It had great acting. It was way better than it deserves to be. If you have not seen Ready or Not, it is an hour and a half of nonstop fun. And the main actress, I believe she's on that show Sex Education or something on Netflix. She's a great actress. Everybody in this is just hamming it up in the best possible way. The end is fantastic. I hope they never do another one. They probably will, but it's made for extra movies, and they'll all suck. But Ready or Not is one of those sleeper hits that I just thought was freaking amazing. Let's see. Zombieland 2, it was okay. I had a couple of good moments, but I honestly just was like, oh, this is what we're doing, huh? We're just not really progressing anything. We're just kind of the same people. We're going to break up the team for a little bit. All the zombie kills and all that humor was all there and on point. The Bill Murray stuff, spoilers, was there, and that was great. It just felt just not quite as good. It just felt like they weren't trying as hard as they could, and I was a little bit. And then the character that I thought I was going to hate, the girl that was hiding out or whatever, I thought that she stole the movie from everybody else, and I thought I would hate her, and she became like one of the best things about Zombieland 2. Knives Out. Again, if after The Last Jedi you said fuck Rian Johnson, there's nothing I can say to dissuade you about it. But I loved Knives Out. Even though the more I think about it, the more I can see all the things about it that he was like really pissed off about people not liking Last Jedi. Because the more I think about it, the more I go, oh my God, like this is that and this is this. And he was really it's almost like he was trying to make a movie that was like Subversion the movie, where everybody could see everything that was coming a mile away, and then you start to question yourself, and everything you thought was going to happen happened. Like it was almost like, okay, you don't like surprises, well, I'm going to make everything really obvious for you and still make it a really entertaining movie. But if you don't like Rian Johnson, I doubt I can change your mind. And I just thought he's really good at making his own stuff. All this, and hopefully everybody else can move on from all this. But Knives Out was a lot of fun. It's nice to see Chris Evans get to be, I don't know, kind of a mustache twirling character. Then at the end we have Marriage Story. Again, one of the best movies of the year. I can't believe Netflix has. This was, like besides Triple Frontier, it was like the end of the year. Netflix has and Marriage Story, 2 movies that elevate the channel, elevate the service. Noah Baumbach is a really great independent director, and to have this movie planned out for as long as he did, and having Scarlett Johansson be a part of it for as long as she was, and going, how she was able to use her own life experiences, which is kind of a shame. You don't want anybody to have a bad time, but she used her own sad things that happened to her to help her performance. And Adam Driver is just fantastic. It makes you forget about Kylo Ren. It made me forget about Black Widow. Just 2 people going through a really believable divorce. It felt wrong at times to be watching these characters. It felt like one of the most genuine movies of the year. There's going to be some nominations for them, and I loved that movie quite a bit. And then the last movie is Uncut Gems, which I just did a review for. The Safdie brothers are like the guy from Dragged Across Concrete, like I said. They make difficult movies about difficult people and tragic endings. But Adam Sandler gives a pretty good performance. I know Gino didn't like it as much as I did, mostly because I knew all the way through how this was going to turn out, and it still managed to surprise me. It still managed to make me fool me a few times, and just watching, I was mesmerized by the sleaziness and darkness of the world that they were showing us. And I mean, Gino was right. Don't trust Kevin Garnett. But it just, the levels of delusion that Adam Sandler's in and addiction to winning and gambling was just, like I said, it's a PSA for gambling. Like, it's a PSA for dangerous behavior as far as gambling. I said, like, the Basketball Diaries was a PSA for not doing heroin. This is an anti-gambling. Like, if you have a family member that behaves like this, get them fucking help now. So that's it for the movies. Desiree says, I just don't like Tarantino's attitude. He seems like the kind of dude who thinks too highly of himself and gets off on trying to be subversive. He has the same Shyamalan Ding Dong thing where they think they're God's gifts to filmmaking. I don't know. He rubs me the wrong way. You know, I can see that. I can see that, Desiree. He does seem to be like, they say don't meet your heroes, right? They say don't meet your heroes. And I know that if I met Quentin Tarantino, being a fellow movie aficionado as I feel like I am, we would just not get along. We would just not get along at all. And it would be like one of those shocking disappointments. It's like when I met Henry Winkler and he just looked right through me and I went, the Fonz just looked right through me. What did I do wrong? So I totally get it. All right. So Zach Correa says, Happy New Year, bro. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you guys don't mind me talking for a long time because this is going to be the last video, like regular video I do. I didn't see Rise of Skywalker, Paul. I think everybody should know that comes to the channel. I said I wasn't going to see Rise of Skywalker because I don't want it up here. If I don't go see it, it doesn't end up here. I can hear all the reviews I want, but to me, that's like listening to fan fiction. And besides, I feel like I already saw it with all the reviews I've seen. But it's not here. Like somebody just telling me a story, like my Home Alone story, like where I just tell you guys what my thoughts would be for a Home Alone sequel. And, you know, you can kind of see it in your head, but it's not real yet. It's not been realized. It's not been fully formed yet. If I go see Rise of Skywalker, it'll be up here forever or until I get Alzheimer's. Knock on wood. Do I have some wood here? I know my brain will never forgive me for seeing Rise of Skywalker. So I'm just not doing it to myself, man. I love The Mandalorian. I am hopeful. I will always remain hopeful for Star Wars. I just bought a Star Wars 2020 calendar, okay? And it's only got one picture from the newest trilogy, and that's for January. And after January, guess what? I get to move on. It's got Empire. It's got prequels. It's got Han Solo. It's got Return of the Jedi. So, you know, I don't need Rise of Skywalker in my life, okay? I don't need all of that. I am trying to do what I said. I'm going to practice what I preach, which is don't give them your money. Don't give them your money, and then they stop making these movies eventually. But it's like people just go to see a train crash or a car crash, I mean. Like, we just can't help but give them the money and then go, well, that sucked. Well, what have people been saying for the last 6 months? It's going to suck. If you like it, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying it sucks. I'm just saying that I'm traumatized. Because one of my first memories is seeing The Empire Strikes Back. And I just don't want to I don't want to take those memories and have to share them with things that I know are going to make me feel bad. And so that's all I have to say about Rise of Skywalker. So on the television, Zachariah says, no, Desi says, I could never gamble because I know I'd be an addict. I wouldn't know when to stop. Me too. Every time I think about playing like a scratch off or something, or like even just playing like Lucky Lotto or something, I go, don't you fucking dare. Zach says, don't see it. LOL. Yeah, I'm not going to see it ever. Even when it comes to Disney Plus, man, it's like Twilight and the Fast and the Furious movies, man. I always say there's no way I'm going to watch those movies and review them for the channel unless somebody paid me like $100 per movie. And then we'd talk. But with Rise of Skywalker, it would take more like $1,000 for me to see that movie and then review it for the channel. Like, seriously, if you guys know some oil, baron out there with $1,000 to like throw the channel, fine. But otherwise, this is not happening. It is not happening. Bill says, I feel the same way about the prequels. Yeah, and I'm almost there with you. Like, I feel like I can't. Every time I think about watching the movies, I go, Do I start with the prequels? Nah, I'll just watch the original 3. And I feel like Return of the Jedi is where it should have ended, and they should have just had a plan. That's the biggest mistake that the Disney had, was not having a plan for their own shit. They wanted to satisfy new fans, but it also feels like they were trying to kill our fandom at the same time. But anyway, I don't want to get down that Star Wars rabbit hole. Time to talk about TV shows. Here we go. All right, starting with The Witcher, which I still have to finish. I haven't seen the last episode. Starts out just like The Mandalorian. I really like it. It starts out really strong and then kind of meanders a bit in the middle. But so far, it looks like it's all coming on home. I will be watching the final episode one of these days. Probably when I get back to reviewing, because like I said, this is going to be the last regular review I do or regular content I do, this live stream. And then for about at least another week, it's just going to be game live streams, unless somebody has like some pick-me-up pills that make me feel all peppy and ready to stand. I just don't like my content right now. I haven't been liking my content for the past like week or so. That's one of the main things. And I've got some personal stuff going on, but blah, 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 blah. But The Witcher, I thought the performances are all really good. It's not, as some people have said, it's like Xena and Hercules, and I agree, except I didn't think Xena and Hercules were any good. This is like actually good fantasy stuff that I didn't expect to like, to be honest with you. And it's got everything that a boy needs, a growing boy needs: sex, violence, and fantasy creatures. It's got it all, and it's just balls to the wall crazy, and it's embracing it. And I like, honestly, what Henry Cavill's doing in this role. I like that he sounds like the video game character. I think Henry Cavill understands the fandom. I think he's trying to give people what they want by trying to give them the voice that they recognize, and I respect that. And I hope that they fix a few problems that I have with story structure in season 2, which is the same problem I have with season 1 of The Mandalorian, which we might as well talk about, which is, again, it starts out strong. There's some filler in the middle, and then gets really good at the end again. And as far as story structure, again, it just needs to find if you're going to have filler, have it meaningful filler. Have it be completely meaningful, and maybe have a lot more character development for some of these filler episodes of these 2 shows. So that way you have a genuine impact by the end of it, instead of just seeing the same plot that you've seen in a TV show over and over and over again. Chatterbox says $100 for a Twilight review honestly sounds worth it. Just one movie or the whole set? Oh, just one movie. Because I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen any of the Twilight movies, and I've only seen the first 2 Fast and the Furious movies, and I don't know why I even watched them. I'm going to blame alcohol. I hate those movies. I hate that world. I hate that manly men with their madness, driving their fucking cars and stuff. And if you like that, like I'm joking. I'm not being completely serious here, but I just I don't like that kind of, that over masculine. I'm not saying toxic masculinity. I'm just saying that overly masculine, puff out my chest, look at me and my shit and my car and my girl and everything. I don't like that puffed out chest attitude. And so, yeah, it would take like $100 for each of those movies. Hey, what's up, man? Mr. Fulton. I enjoyed The Witcher as well. Was confused at a few points, but still enjoyed it. Yeah, it confused a lot of people. It seems like every review is, I didn't have any idea what was going on at first, and then everybody has that aha moment where it's like, oh shit, that's what's happening. Oh, timelines. I thought that was actually a really interesting choice. Even my dad, who watched it, like, understands what's going on now, and that's saying something. But Mandalorian, again, really good. It's really fresh. I did all the reviews on my channel. I talked about it extensively on the D's reviews thing that Desiree showed up at. So thanks again, Desiree, for showing up for that. You can watch that and hear my full analysis of The Mandalorian on there. I'm not going to talk about it really here, except I love it. I can't wait for season 2. I'm glad it's already, being pushed up, because all the people that subscribed just for The Mandalorian and then bailed on Disney Plus, That's one of the things we talked about there was how Disney Plus should have had a plan for constant new content that would bring people into the channel every time something ends. You get something of quality that people want, and they fucked up hard on that. Next up was His Dark Materials, which was a huge surprise for me. His Dark Materials, like, I'd never read the book. Performances by a child actor or any actor in television, period. Ruth Wilson was unbelievably incredible in His Dark Materials. I've always seen that she's been a pretty good actress in like shows like Luther and The Affair, but she really brings it. Oh my God, if you have not seen His Dark Materials, you have to check it out. I love the universe they created. It's very complicated. I usually, I keep being drawn to shows that have deep religious overtone. I'm a religious person anymore. But Lin-Manuel Miranda was a surprise for me because I only saw him on House, and I thought he was annoying as a rapper. And so I know I should definitely not see Hamilton because I know that I don't like musicals already, but he was really good in it. Next up is Watchmen. That was a very polarizing show for a lot of people. I happen to think I thought it was great, although the finale for me was a little underwhelming because just like the Doomsday Clock comic book, it just kind of went like, oh, that's what this is about and that's what's going to happen. Okay, fine. But other than that, up to the first 6 episodes of Watchmen, I thought were some of the best episodes of television on TV. And people having a problem saying it's woke and all these, like the fandom menace again, showing that the fandom menace, man, can be just as toxic as anything else. And I'm sorry for bringing them up in this stream, man, but the fandom menace can be just as toxic as anything. They really got access to the grind. And they try to bring down shows just because people try to have messages about racism and stuff. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, is racism not a relevant topic to you guys? I'm sorry, you just want your stupid superhero show to not have any meaning whatsoever? Like, get the fuck over yourselves, man. If you don't like it, why are you reviewing it, man? I don't purposely watch something like episode to episode just to bitch about it. Like Game of Thrones, man, I was in for that for the end, and well, we'll get to that. But like these people that are just, all they do is complain about the things that they used to like. Woof, get over it. Desiree says, I had to read the Twilight. I tried to read the Twilight books and I couldn't get past the first pages. It was so cringy. Paul says, thinking how much The Witcher is sticking to the books. Is it? Desi says, I only like Tokyo Drift because the style of driving looked cool, but the rest of them are just dumb. How did it go from street racing to global espionage? Exactly. And now they're like superheroes. But that's Universal was like trying to well, we don't have actual superheroes in our library. So what do you say? We failed at the Dark Universe. So let's just make our cars, and people into superheroes. Paul's, and that's not to knock Paul Walker. He actually did some pretty good movies outside of the Fast and the Furious movies, particularly Running Scared. I thought that movie was fantastic. Paul Green. I just said your full name, Paul. Fast and Furious jumped from street racing to G.I. Joe, especially when Dwayne Johnson joined. Yeah. Next up is The Boys on Amazon Prime, which I have a few of the novels, the trade paperbacks from that. Garth Ennis brings his book to life in this Amazon series with Carl Urban as one of the best anti-heroes in comics. It is just like, if you like Preacher, you're going to love The Boys. It is difficult to watch at times. It's, again, superheroes. Like, what would superheroes really be like? They'd be dicks. They'd be dicks. And they'd have corporate overlords, and it's kind of depressing, but it's so watchable. The satire and the parody of it all it's drenched in it. It's so entertaining. It's so dark. Oh my God, is it dark? I really thought that he was gonna kill that baby at one point. I thought that, what was his name? God, I can't remember what his name is now, but the main superhero, the main Superman type archetype. I thought he was going to kill that baby. I thought he was going to kill Elizabeth Shue's baby. I got to take a drink out of my giant Faygo orange soda. Who need cups? Who need cups? I sound like a caveman. Who need come back? The boys will be back in town. Boys are back in town. Carnival Row is next. Row at all. I thought it was a terrible use of Cara Delevingne and what's Legolas's real name? Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom. Everybody probably started screaming, "Orlando Bloom, you motherfucker!" It was just sex and elves, and it just wasn't. It was boring. It was boring and it wasn't interesting. I watched all of it. I couldn't stop watching it just because I wanted to get the review out there, and it was one of the worst things I'd seen all year. It would make the worst of if I was making a worst of list. Euphoria, I started to watch and I couldn't get through it because I thought, Jesus Christ, girl, get over yourself. Harley Quinn. I tried to watch. I just couldn't get into it. I know Gino's reviewing it. I think that it just needs to be written better and lose some of the swearing, just like everything on the DC Universe channel. I think that all these ideas, all these shows on DC Universe have great ideas. It's their execute back on some of that. It would be a really great satire of, because I do think that there's really good potential in that show. It just I haven't finished watching it. I haven't forced myself, and if you have to force yourself to go back to something, then I don't know what that says. Enjoy the Boys a lot wasn't what I expected. Is what fault wasn't his name Homelander? Homelander is the name from the Boys. Yeah, that's right. Such a great name. Next up is the Umbrella Academy, which some people are gonna say that it's really boring. And it kind of is. It's a slow burn, but a lot of the characters are interesting. I feel like season 1 is just the setup for a better season 2. I think Ellen Page, though, is miscast in this show. She's the big star when all the other people are actually so much better than her in this show. And I've started reading the comics, and it's batshit crazy, man. And I think that there's a lot of potential. The guy who sees ghosts, the guy that was on that show Misfits, I forget his name. He's going to be at Umbrella Academy and the Boys in next month, the end of next month. But Umbrella Academy, I think, just came and went and just kind of disappeared off of people's radar. So it was like people were hyped for it. Then Umbrella Academy comes out. And then people stop talking about Umbrella Academy. And that's not what you want to see in your show, is people just suddenly not talking about it anymore. I don't know anybody that's talking about it. Leftovers book, and was co-creator for the Leftovers TV show. I think his name, did I already say his name? Is Tom Perrotta. It was like a 8-episode series. It was just one and done. And it was basically about how this douchebag son goes to college and everything goes bad for him while his put-upon mother has a sexual awakening after he goes away to college. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's actually a really satisfying 8 episodes once you get to the end and you go along this woman's journey of awakening after she put everything into the men in her life. Once those men are gone, how she has this awakening, and the douchebags kind of end up with shitty lives, if you really think about it. It's actually, I really dig it a lot. And it's I don't know, maybe it's because I just don't like a lot. I mean, it doesn't hate guys, but it's definitely a story for women. That's not just for women, but it's about a woman that I think if you are open-minded enough as a man, you will appreciate it as well. Next up is Doom Patrol, just like Harley Quinn. I haven't quite finished the first season yet. I got like 2 more episodes, I think, to go. Again, fantastic ideas, great imagination, interesting characters, bogged down by bad writing and vulgarity that isn't necessary. It has some of the best ideas, like I've said. DC's ideas are always great. Their execution is not so great in the DC universe. Dark Crystal Age of Resistance was one of the most imaginative things. It looked fantastic. It upgraded to Dark Crystal, knowing that everything's going to just fall apart. Just kind of made it not a joy to watch, and just more sad crystal. And then we were just going to see the full story just kind of play out in a different way, and where the Skeksis are ruling and making everybody, die. But instead it was a huge bummer. And it had all these messages about our own world that were thrown in there that were fine, but it just made me sad. Life. Woof. Oh my gosh, was Another Life. I wish this Another Life needs to get a life. They were trying to sell it as this serious Expanse level show, and good God, is it not. It came from Shameless and Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball movie. And the girl from Battlestar Galactica, I can't believe I'm not remembering her name right now. They were like these, they're good actors, and they're surrounded by, and it has the guy from Doctor Who played Clara's boyfriend, Danny Pink, as Danny Pink as a robot. It has the worst sex scenes that are like not sex scenes. It's some of the worst writing, some of the worst acting. And then they when the backlash came in, when the critics slammed on it, when they tried to spin it and say, "Oh, you're not supposed to take it seriously now." Like, "Oh, that wasn't what we intended. We wanted it to be cheesy." And it's like, bullshit. You're telling us to lean into the cheese and then we'll like it. And it's like, oh, shut up. Russian Doll is next with Natasha Lyonne. Fantastic. It's Groundhog Day for this poor girl and another boy. I can't really say too much about it without spoiling too much. But also it's kind of started to drift out of this. I just remember really, really liking it. She's really good. It's a lot of fun. All the different ways that they keep reliving the same day over and over and over again while never feeling tired, played out, or boring is fantastic. Can't recommend Russian Doll higher enough, actually. And The Island, another groaner from Netflix, where it's Neil LaBute, man. Neil LaBute, who did In the Company of Men, or Our Friends and Neighbors, Nurse Betty, all these fantastic movies that are about very terrible people in very terrible situations. And then he makes this trite that is just, Kate Bosworth is a better actress than this. The other lead actress is way better than this too. It's a Lost ripoff. It's trying to do all, and it's almost like a Matrix ripoff. It's god awful. It's got good people in it. And also, this also has some of the worst acting I have seen all year long. Oh my God, is it awful. It as funny as I thought it was going to be. It made me think of Maniac in a way, where it's got very dry humor. Paul Rudd, though, gets to finally stop being a good guy for a change and get to be kind of an asshole. And I loved him getting to be able to show some range for himself as an actor. The comedian slash actress who plays his wife, it has a great jumping off point for season 2. I hope there is a season 2. It's definitely, it's like Multiplicity if Multiplicity was less funny. Fox, if he's still here, will agree with me that What We Do in the Shadows is one of the best, funniest movies of all year, or shows of all year. If anybody thought that it wasn't going to be as good as the movie, and then most people said, "What is that movie? I've never even heard of What We Do in the Shadows." And then I had to explain What We Do in the Shadows to so many people. You go back and you watch What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, and oh my gosh, it's just, it's the best mockumentary since this is Spinal Tap. And the show doesn't skip a beat. It's got the same writers. It's got the same director. It's got the cast even shows up from the movie at one point on the show. It's got the 7th episode has got the best cameos in anything ever. I think I can safely say, in my opinion, episode 7 has the best use of cameos I've ever seen in anything. Probably since maybe one of the Muppet movies or something, or like Airplane, or one of those like weird like spoof movies. It's unbelievable. Like, they actually have there's one spoiler. Wesley Snipes is actually a vampire. Because the one guy that's in this, he does another show on Netflix. Oh God, I always forget this guy's name. Everybody in this is fantastic. Max Prosh that was on Better Call Saul and The Office is just an incredible comedic actor in this. The town meeting one where they go to the town council is one of the most hilarious episodes. I'm still trying to remember the guy's name. It's not there. Then we've got The Act with Patricia Arquette and the girl from The Conjuring that is about the true story of the girl who, like spoilers of the true story about the girl whose mother faked her child having an illness so that they could get money to get out of Katrina. And they always take her around as like this inspiration when the girl isn't really sick, and how eventually this girl wanted her own life and ended up killing her mother. And it's this whole story, and it's fascinating to watch this real life play out in what basically happened. I'm sure there's some dramatic license here, but Patricia Arquette is fantastic in this. It's again just like a slice of life, a series that is just it's too crazy to not be true, that kind of thing. Hannah, another Amazon show that I saw. The first 2 episodes were great. As soon as they got away from the movies, like, oh, I'm out. And I pretty much checked out for watching the rest of it. Like, I watched it and I just was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Because it has some great performances from Joel Kinnaman and the other one from The Killing. There's too many names for me to remember, and actors and actresses. Matt Berry is the one I'm thinking of. Thank you, Chatterbox. Damn it. He's on that show. There's another one on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, God, I should pull it up. Why not, right? Let's just look up Matt Berry. Because why not? It's probably going to like... What is the show? He was on the IT Crowd, but what else? Should I play myself in the background? All right, let's just do this. Sorry, everybody. I can't believe him. Toast of London. He plays Stephen Toast on Netflix. It's a hilarious show. This guy who's like an actor, a has-been actor, who it's hilarious. You just got to check it out. Then there was the show Undone, and that was that Amazon show with Bob Tanner Darkley did. It's a trippy show that ended up really just kind of not really doing much for me. Traitors, another Netflix show that is fantastic if you like shows about British spies trying to hunt Nazis in the British government in World War II. It is very dark, but fantastic. It is unflinchingly like just like the realistic ways that people did things back then. Like it shows that not everything that everybody did to help save the world were very nice things to, just kind of regular ass people, and the things that people could just do. Perpetual Grace Limited. I can't believe it took me so long to get to this. Perpetual Grace Limited is one of the best shows of the year. Steve Conrad, director. He's based in Chicago, I think. I actually got invited to go to their studio if I ever head out there sometime. But him directing, and Chris Conrad and Terry Quinn and Jimmy Simpson and Ben Kingsley and oh gosh, I'm trying to remember all the names. Like, is it Dana? Oh God, I can't remember everybody's names in this. The guy who played Eric's dad on that 70s show. All these names I'm supposed to remember, but Perpetual Grace Limited is a great show about and how it turns out his parents aren't just a couple of old people. They're a couple of mastermind criminals who are really, really bad and willing to do a lot of bad things to people. I can't really say much more. I'd spoil it too much. It's on Epix. That's the main problem with this show, is that it's on a streaming service that nobody watches. Like they've got the show Pennyworth on there. Like I don't know anybody that watches Pennyworth. I have seen the show Hannibal, and I love Hannibal. I'm going to review Hannibal someday. Next up is You. I just finished You season 2. I shouldn't enjoy a show like You. You to me is CW trash. It's like with an MA rating, but I can't not watch it. It is my guilty pleasure. There's a guilty pleasure on this list. It is You, with Penn Badgley, who I can't take my eyes off of. His narration. He's like a Dexter light. Also, it's got the girl from the Haunting of Hill House, the broken neck girl. She is in this, and it's just he's a killer. I don't know if you can call him a serial killer, but he loves love so much that he tries to, if you haven't seen the show, how do you put this? So like he becomes obsessed with this girl, and the lengths he'll go to make this relationship work is basically Dexter level stuff, because he's messed up in the head. He's been messed up from a long time ago. And in season 2, it's him trying to escape from his past and not make the same mistakes that he did in the first season, while he then proceeds to make the same mistakes as he does in the first season. The ending I figured out before the first episode was over. I was not wrong. It didn't stop me from watching. So it's basically trash to me. It's trash to me that I couldn't stop watching. For me, watching a show like You was like watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Truly like Penn Badgley's performance as this guy, and that's my it's almost like a confession, really. I am getting to period ever. I would probably want to beat these people to death with a Louisville fucking slugger if I ever like knew these people. But it's a fascinating look at this family that own, like, they're a conglomerate that own so many different things all over the world from power. All the performances in the show are fantastic. Brian Cox and Kieran Culkin. Kieran Culkin has been doing the only thing about Kieran Culkin is in this show is that he's just been doing the same Kieran Culkin performance as every movie he's been in since like Igby Goes Down. It's not a bad shtick. It's just he's not stretching his acting chops. The one who is stretching his acting chops is the guy who plays the brother. I'm forgetting his name. The one who was always he was into cocaine, and he is. It's like he's trying to be a better man, but he keeps getting sucked into the bullshit of the family and like wanting it, not wanting it. He's probably going to get some nominations. It's a really great show about really terrible people. That's the best way I can put it. And if you want to hear better reviews of this show, definitely go over to Chatterbox's reviews and watch his Succession reviews. If you like Succession, he gives such great in-depth looks into that show that I was actually trying to finish that show so I could watch his reviews of that. And for me to say that, I guess, is kind of, I highly recommend that. I highly recommend that. So definitely check out Chatterbox reviews. If you have not been to his channel, go check him out and subscribe to his channel. He doesn't do a lot of content right now. You don't really, right? But when he does, it's always really quality. Jeremy Strong, I think you're right. The Royal Gemstones, Danny McBride. I love Danny McBride. I like Eastbound and Down a lot. I love Eastbound and Down. I thought Vice Principals was okay. It had some really great moments. To me, this was a misstep. I didn't enjoy this as much as I think you did, Chatter. I think that it just wasn't funny enough. I thought it was way too serious. They didn't use John Goodman enough. The tone was all over the place. I mean, when it was funny, it was interesting. It was a departure for him as an actor. Walton Goggins is always deliciously sleazy. The guy from The Mick was fantastic in this as well. But again, takes way too many serious turns. I thought this would be way more satirical, way more of a parody, and instead it really wanted to be a dramedy to me, and that just kind of dragged it down a little bit, where I still watched every single episode. I just didn't walk away from it feeling like I needed a season 2. Silicon Valley's final season was up. It had a great run. This season wasn't quite on par with any of the other ones, and I hate saying that. Although the one guy who was Gabe on The Office, that's kind of the Gabe in this show, and I hate not remembering that actor's name. He always brought it every single season, and that doesn't change here. The final episode was fantastic. Everybody kind of gets what's coming to them or what they need or what they deserve. The ending is ambiguous and hilariously ambiguous. It ends like a Mike Judge show. Martin Starr is fantastic, as always, as Guilfoyle. Kumail Nanjiani is perfect as Dinesh. I love that these characters only grow so much. I like that Erlich Bachman, you don't really know what happened to Erlich Bachman, or you kind of do. He's fantastic in this. It was a solid season, just not as good. It had some, but when it was, again, like Royal Gemstones, when it was hilarious, it was freaking nonstop hilarious. Scott Pilgrim was the best Culkin performance, by the way, Desiree, you're right. Wallace was really, but he was still being Kieran Culkin, just toned down a little bit. Let's see, I kind of missed a few things. Absolutely love Succession, favorite show of the year for me. I thought season 2 was a step up from season 1. It really found their footing on the tone. Yeah, season 2 was definitely better. I think it's best out of the 3 he's done so far. Definitely agree on Netflix. This show is, again, not for everyone, but it is the best. This is the best time travel goes. Like if you're dealing, like, because both shows deal with kids, right? Both deal with, not except Stranger Things embraces nostalgia. Dark embraces seriousness and acting and writing, and it's confusing at times, but it is like one of the best things I've seen that is a foreign language show that I usually might not have taken the time to watch. But Belinda R., one of my subscribers, was really into it and told me to get into it. And so I did, and I'm very glad that I did. But it's also one of the most divisive. I've gotten so many nasty comments from people overseas that watch this show and basically call me stupid American, and different degrees of that. So it makes it hard to go back to reviewing Dark. It was rough. It was really rough. But it is a fantastic time travel show that will make you like scratch your head, cheer, pound your fist against the wall. It'll make you feel a lot of different things. And it's really probably one of the best things of all year, to be honest. And speaking of which, Stranger Things season 3 was here. It was okay. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, wow, I can't believe season 1 really was the best season. And it just kind of is gradually. I love Dustin and Steve's bromance. I thought they're fantastic in it together. But again, and it has a great cliffhanger. He's the one, like the one big star that comes out of this show is the one I don't like. I figure that out. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., their penultimate season was on this year. It was a definite step up from season 5 for me. I thought it just comes out of the gate and does not stop. Season 6 was the most streamlined episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There was no filler in here. It was all, there's a mission, start the mission, get to the end of the mission. It was half a season, so it was like they just knew what they were doing. They didn't have to take any breaks. It had a great villain. It had a great ending. It gave Clark Gregg so much to do with a new kind of role. It stumbles a couple of times, but for the most part, like the Fear and Loathing on the Planet of Kitson episode was one of the best episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've ever seen in my entire life. The characters all seem to have a lot more fun. It also had one of my least favorite episodes of any season, but that's okay. Not everything can be a home run, but it's definitely going into the home stretch really strong for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7, their final season. It really is going into that season, really. And that's all I'll really say about Handmaid's Tale. Again, it's a very divisive show. I got a lot of subscribers from it. Makes me feel very passionately when I talk about it. That's one of the reasons why when I sit there in that show, it just makes me really angry. Because I know there are people out there that would wish that this was like the way the world really is. But it was still one of the best shows of all time. Speaking of one of the best shows of all time, I want to talk about Too Old to Die Young. He's one of the most pretentious dudes I've ever seen in my life. None of the performances are bad. I just feel like this guy, he's making art, and I don't appreciate his art. That's what it is. Like, he literally, this show is art. You can't say that about everything, like not in that way. When somebody says, oh, that's art. Too Old to Die Young is a very arty thing. And art is very, like all things, it's all about, right? But when you're talking about real art, in a way, this perspective is this guy needs to stop being so fucking pretentious and just tell a story. But other people really, really love it. And kudos to you if you do, because I don't know what it is about this. It's kind of like how I feel about, like how Desiree say about Tarantino. I feel this guy is so fucking up his own ass. He is so pretentious that I just can't do it. I cannot do it with this guy. I'm just like, no. Jessica Jones, season 3, woof. Swing and a miss. Everything I hated about season 2 is back and stronger, and I barely could get through it. And season 2 was not very good either, but this just brought everything I was afraid season 3 would be is what season 3 would be. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Black Mirror was very disappointing. Even the good one with the guy in I guess it's the good one with the hostage situation. Even that one, when they get to the end of it, it was just like, oh, that's it. Okay. Black Mirror, Miley Cyrus, and singing 9 Inch Nails really made me just see red. I was mad that Trent Reznor let her do it. And then the thing with with Falcon and Black Manta in the video game one was just weird. And it was just really weird. It was like it was trying to shock us, and would people like, this is the internet, future of the internet, right? That's what it felt like. Like, people are just going to be banging virtually. Like, we're going to be putting virtual helmets on and banging in virtual reality. Just like this sweet little fable about angels and demons and the apocalypse. And I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought the performances were good. I thought anything with John Hamm is just about got to be good. I haven't finished The Expanse season 4, so I can only say that so far what I've seen is really good. Santa Clarita Diet season 3 was fantastic, and it got canceled. And it makes me really sad, because now I gotta, just like that, just when it's gaining more steam and getting into a really good possible season 4, which I think season 4 would have been a great way to finish. They don't even get to finish. Maybe they'll let them do a movie. I don't know. But it's a real shame that they just suddenly get cut out of nowhere. Me and my dad watched that together, and we don't watch anything together, really. Game of Thrones. Woof. I'm not going to say any more about it, because everybody's got an opinion on that one, and I've covered that show. And Tyrion is one of the smartest characters on TV, and they made him into a fucking moron. And then the last 2 things we're going to talk about is both good things. One got canceled. One is Deadly Class. Deadly Class is my favorite show of the year. It was the best thing I saw early in the year, and nothing topped it. I was trying really hard while I was doing this, reading off this list, what would be the best of the year, and it's still Deadly Class. watching Deadly Class. It got me into the books. I have almost every issue of the comic now, all like 43, 44 issues of it. It's had one of the best premises, had so much potential, had great acting, great storytelling, the pace, the tone, the soundtrack, the acting. I could keep going on and on about how great Deadly Class is. And it was on Sci-Fi, and nobody watched it, and it got canceled. And nobody could save it. I don't know how. I hope it comes back in some form someday soon. Chance. Deadly Class, man. Deadly Class. That was the biggest hurt of the year is giving that show so much of my time, and then them just and loving it and appreciating comics in a new way, and hoping that it would find an audience, and then it doesn't, and it just fails. It's like, to me, that was the low point for me, like in the year. I never quite recovered from that one. And then the other show, I didn't have to say anything. But I know it was on your list, and it is like my second favorite thing. I'll say this about his review for that is yes, I really loved all the interviews, but the reason why I loved to me is I remember being like 5 or 6 when that story broke. I can't believe my family let me watch this story about the missing Atlanta children. And how this guy basically just he gets caught for not the right thing. Like, it talks about how like justice like really can, like how things worked back then, how people how basically the people of Atlanta were failed. They were failed by their government and our government, and in the ways that people thought about things, the ways people do things, that this monster gets to like basically, get away with all these murders in a way that, like, yeah, he gets busted for the like something, but not the like. So if there was any problem with Mindhunter season 2, it was like that maybe they should have held back that story for season 3 and just done that story. Or maybe Mindhunter is like the second best thing I've seen all year, because first off, it's David Fincher. You can't go wrong. You've got Anna Torv from Fringe. How can you go wrong? The 2 actors, I always forget their names, but the one's from Fight Club, and I love him. Just his whole collapse of his family was fantastic. I'm saying fantastic, but it was so sad, but like, just stop watching. The interviews that they did were incredible. You get Charles Manson in there, which I think they overplayed their hand on that a little bit. Otherwise, Mindhunter season 1 and 2. If you have not seen Mindhunter, you have to watch Mindhunter. If you like David Fincher movies, you have to watch Mindhunter. It is one of the. I was so happy that it finally came back. I breezed through the first season when it came out, and then I breezed through the second season, and it's the thing that I'm asking for more now that I've seen it than anything else besides Better Call Saul, which needs to be back, and I know it's coming back in the spring, but still, I can't. Season 3 needs to get here really soon, because it's the thing I salivate for now, because it is just right up my fence here. Just to make sure that I get to okay, can't wait for season 2 of The Boys, says Paul. Yep. Desiree, people were only about it because Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance made the comic. People were probably expecting something lame because of that, and were bummed when it wasn't garbage. Are you talking about Umbrella Academy? Chatterbox says, yes, so glad I watched What We Do in the Shadows, and the movie is fantastic as well. Love what they did with the show. Yep. Desiree says, I love the movie What We Do in the Shadows, but never got a chance to see the show. Wait till it comes out on whatever streaming service we'll get it. You'll bring it, I think you can watch it on Hulu, and you'll absolutely love Succession. We talked about that one. Jeremy Strong, Culkin's performance, best of the 3. Did you check out When They See Us this year? One of the only limited series I haven't gotten a chance to see yet. No, I did not. Oh, is that one with John Leguizamo about the wrongfully convicted guy? No excuse. Season 2 of Stranger Things, says Desiree, got on my nerves because of 11. She got on my nerves. 3 was better, but I love Hopper, and I ain't cool with them even implying Hopper is gone. Yeah, he's that guy that's in the Russian cell. You know it's got to be him. Chatterbox, the comments feedback on You're Too Old to Die Young were crazy. Couldn't handle reviewing that show. Yeah, at least you see that, right? Then Desiree says Hannibal had a lot of art, but it's genuinely beautiful and haunting. Hannibal is art, but it's not pretentious. It's not pretentious at all. It's beautiful. It's haunting. It's scary. It's dark. And Paul says, like Jessica Jones and The Defenders. Yeah. Think Deadly Class will be on Netflix soon, like The Expanse. Well, The Expanse is on Amazon, but on Netflix, I believe it will be, because they've got like The Magicians and everything else. So Deadly, in fact, it's almost been a year. I think it's been like a year since Deadly Class came out, just about. So it should be showing up really soon. I don't even think you can get a Blu-ray or a DVD, which is really, I like that. I'm wondering why that is. They should have been able to release a Blu-ray of that a long time ago. It makes me wonder why they don't want to, at least get some word out on a show that they canceled. Make some more money off of it at least. Because the comic is still out there. I'm all coming in February, so next month, yeah. Well, I better get my act together and, stop feeling so bad about different things in my life right now. I shouldn't say it like that. I just think I need more of a break. I want to just chill for a moment. I've got some sadness inside me right now that I'm having a really hard time managing. And it's been really, really hard going to work and having a hard day's work and then dealing with that sadness and then making content that I believe in and feeling like it looks good. And we've gone on for almost 2 hours and we're on 2 hours and 40 minutes. So that is my look back on 2019 comics, movies, and TV shows, and some game talk really in the beginning, and a bunch of other random stuff thrown in here, some rants and raves. And I know that not a lot of people watched it, and I really appreciate it. I watched your best ofs, Chatter. I really liked it. I thought I shared it, or it was about your best performances. I put that out there because I was thinking about adding that to this, but then I went, man, this is really going to go on even longer if I talk about best performances. But, one of these days we should work together, Chatterbox. I would really like to get our heads together, maybe do something for Better Call Saul or something like that, get a collaboration of when that season's over, maybe if you'd be interested in doing a little chat about what we thought of the 4th season now, Better Call Saul, or is it the 5th? I think it's the 5th, right? So anyway, thanks again, everybody, for watching this. Again, I'm sorry that at this point, but I am going to be, I don't know if you can, Desi, but I'm going to play a game after this. And it's up to, I'm either going to play Kingdom Hearts 3 or I'm going to play Resident Evil 2. So I'll be live streaming a game after this for a little while. Since I don't know what to do with myself, I'm going to be all amped up from after this. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching. And I don't know what kind of delay this thing is giving me, but if you want to send me a message to whether or not I should play Resident Evil 2 tonight. I know you said you weren't available until tomorrow. So if I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3, that's fine. Otherwise, DM me on Twitter. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thanks for putting up with me for so long. Paul says, thanks, Rob. Take care. See you. And yeah, we will see you guys on the next video or the next live stream or whatever that I do. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.